My name is Heather Storm. I'm a manager of creator evangelism at Epic Games. It's my job to make sure that everyone in this room and everyone beyond this room is enabled and inspired to use UEFN, and then also that all of your feedback gets back to our product team and hopefully iterated on so that we can best serve all of you, the amazing game makers in the space. Today I'll be talking about how to create original content in the Fortnite ecosystem. We're going to do an overview of Epic a little bit and the products and services that we offer. Then we'll dive into some case studies. I actually have case studies on quite a few developers who are in the audience. If I say anything wrong about your game, please don't correct me. Thanks. And then we'll talk about the future of building games in the Fortnite ecosystem. And then I'll have a lot of time for Q&A. I'm really excited to get to know all of you, and hopefully you leave this session inspired and with some understanding of what's possible with UEFN. So a few things you should know about Epic Games. We make a lot of tools and services. From our game engines like Unreal Engine and Unreal Editor to all of the different things that go into making that amazing, like Twinmotion, MetaHuman, Reality Capture, to our content spaces like Fab and Quixel, different marketplaces where you can buy assets, including also our Epic services, so our online services platform to allow you to have better multiplayer and a bunch of other things, which we won't be talking about today. But then we also have two different ways that you can distribute your games, either on the Fortnite ecosystem or through Epic Games Store. And finally, we have great communities, both on ArtStation and in the Epic developer community, which just got a refresh on Monday, so please go check it out. And these are great places to connect with each other and hopefully continue connections that you've made here at GDC. So all of those different tools and services, they enable powerful tools for every single person, millions of diverse assets, great out-of-the-box services that are easy to use, distribution, like I said, across multiple platforms with the Fortnite ecosystem or anywhere you want with the Epic Games Store, and then the supportive communities. Hopefully you've already seen it here, but the creator community especially is one of my favorites. They're supportive, inclusive, and inviting. And what we believe behind all of these tools and services and communities is that everyone deserves to have powerful tools. Open standards are the future of how we're going to make great games and experiences and worlds. Only you should own the IP that you make, and we only succeed in all of this if you do. So, speaking of you, I'd love to know how many people here in this room identify as a game developer. I don't see every single hand. You're wrong. You're all game developers. Thank you for being here. But how about how many of you identify more in just the creator space? Maybe you've worked with UEFN and Fortnite, or one of the many other platforms I should probably not name. Can I get a hands for those? I should see most of them in this side. I see you all. I would really love to encourage everyone who maybe saw all those secondary hands come up to come talk to the wonderful creators in the space. Get to hear from them directly what they find different about working in normal games versus the creator space and what they find most exciting. How about if you're something else? Maybe you're marketing, some other part of games. I love that. I'm so excited. Community. I think that that's such an important effort that you all do, and I mean, it's technically where I identify as well. So it's great to meet all of you. I hope that you all take a second after the session and get to meet each other and hopefully make some connections across different disciplines that maybe you haven't before. That's the thing that I love the most about the Fortnite community, is that we really are able to foster all of those. Okay, so back to Epic. We're here to give you the tools that you need to transform your wildest creative ideas into reality, no matter which discipline you just came from. And we do that all powered by Unreal Engine. But this talk isn't about Unreal Engine. It's about Unreal Editor for Fortnite. UEFN is a tool that leverages the power of Unreal Engine and lets you create and publish games directly into Fortnite. So a few years ago, we just had Battle Royale and Fortnite Creative. This was a really exciting time because people from all different walks of life could open up Fortnite, play games on their console, and then make games in custom sandbox environments. Really, the things that we saw were mini games and small worlds, but they were really constrained. There was a lot of, you really were only able to work with predefined assets and small building blocks. And the devices and ways you could create game logic was incredibly limited. And that's why last year we introduced UEFN, because it lets you create more powerful experiences with the power of Unreal Engine. Now you can import bespoke assets and non-playable characters. You can create custom animations and cinematics and bring in sound. And we announced the Creator Economy 2.0 that lets you actually make money from the games that you're making with the platform. So this is cool, but let's talk about what that actually means. So first, when you're actually getting into the tools, there's lots of things that you get from both Creative and UE5, and I wanted to just briefly mention a couple that I think are really cool. So when you first launch UEFN, you can launch what's called a live edit session, and that will let you actually use all of the creative editing tools that you could use before. So this is the phone tool, all of the existing Fortnite assets, you can drag and drop and do whatever you might want to there. But then, if you're in the full editor mode, you can actually use modeling mode, landscape, control rig, sequencer, make something really pretty with visual effects or the post-processing volumes, bring in custom materials, and as we announced yesterday, you can now bring in NPCs as metahumans. You can also create or import custom content from other spaces. We now support you importing static and skeletal meshes, animations, textures, and lots of sounds. So maybe if you want to make something really immersive, you can now bring in that full sound design that you just weren't able to with Fortnite Creative. So how do you build your game logic? I think for all of you who've never touched this tool before, this is the thing that's the most different about how you develop games with UEFN. Everything right now starts with devices. They're the primary building blocks for authoring game mechanics. Different devices do different things, and they can be defined to build lots of different kinds of functions. You can customize them together again to build more fully unique game mechanics. So an example that I like to mention is that we have all different kinds of vehicle spawners. So maybe you want to start with your map on an ocean and you want to spawn in a boat. We have a boat spawner for you. And then maybe you want to go on an adventure where that boat lands and then they need to get on a dirt bike, and you can use the dirt bike spawner to bring that in. But we also have other things like a capture point spawner and a flag spawner so that you can use those together to create almost instantly a capture the flag game. There's so many different diverse kinds of devices that you can use to combine together to make really fun, interesting gameplay loops. But if you want to go beyond that, we have Verse. Verse is a beta API that is constantly being worked on by our amazing team. In fact, they just presented their roadmap in the last session. But it's a language that is built for scale to concurrent users in a shared world. What I mean for that is that we built it with multiplayer in mind, so that you don't have to worry about that logic. You get that out of the box. It's also a multi-paradigm language, so it uses both functional programming, object-oriented programming, and imperative programming concepts and calculus to actually define how the game world works. This example of verse code is stuff that I wrote with my team. It basically just grants a visual effect to a player when they pick up a flag to make them really obvious in a capture the flag game. But you can see that it's actually pretty readable and hopefully not too intimidating from those of you maybe not coming from a programming background. Now, of course, you don't have to know Verse to write and make games with UEFN, but it really helps if you want to go beyond just the basics of devices. So the final step in all things when it comes to what is UEFN is the Creator Economy 2.0. And how this works is that eligible island creators who register and agree to all of our agreements get to publish your island content and then you get to make money based off of the engagement on your island. We pay out proportionally 40% of the net revenue from Fortnite item shops and most real money transactions to eligible islands and creators. What this means in reality is that since the launch of UEFN a year ago today, or maybe yesterday, we paid out $320 million to our creator community. So there's a lot of opportunity for all of you to come in and make a great game and hopefully make some cool money. So how can you do that? How can you activate and earn using Fortnite right now? Well, my first thing before we get into the case studies is that I think that you should really think about, how do I build a game for engagement? This is a little bit different than building a normal, maybe narrative-driven game, because you're really trying to get to the Fortnite player base with your experience. So I like to think of these three words. Intuitive, something that can be easily learned and engaged with as a player. Retentive, something that's going to make me want to come back again and again to try something, figure something out a different way, or have fun with my friends. And of course, then fun. I want to come in and be able to enjoy this game with my friends. So let's get to the cool part. This is my favorite section of this talk because I don't normally get to just brag about the amazing creator creations, but that's what I get to do today. So let's do some case studies. We're going to start with Wirt Andrews' Domus Mortem. He is here in the audience, so hopefully I don't get anything wrong. But he is an Epic Mega Grants recipient who made this really cool solo horror game. You get to choose your level through accessible menus that really made me feel like I don't like horror, but I was able to pick the level at which I could play it and not be scared crazy. And it wasn't just a menu either. It was a really cool environment interaction. It's also one of the first UEFN titles that has a full cutscene and voiceover intro after you select all your settings. This is super cool because it just proves that you can really build a full narrative into your experience. It also has multiple endings with lots of different things that you can learn about the characters that are in the world, and I definitely didn't get all of them, so it's something that I can come back to again and again and get to experience. Before the launch, he did a ton of work of series of trailers and lots of different efforts to make sure that everyone knew that this was a game that was coming out that you could play within the Fortnite ecosystem. And then at the launch, he did a full playthrough with an influencer, Mustard Plays, which that video was super successful, and it's the reason that I know about the multiple endings, because I'm still a scaredy cat. But it's super fun, and you can play it right now at that island code. So let's go to one other solo player game. This is Dogtown. It is a map created by Alex Horton and Alex Taroff, who you may know. And it's a super cool, fully motion captured action-adventure game with a strong brand identity. This first chronicle tells a story about trying to save a character in Dogtown, but they're working on a multi-chronicle story. And each one is going to bring the world of Dogtown to life. They have a super professional website that is super fancy over at dogtownchronicles.com. And they're considering to expand beyond just Fortnite if this continues to do well. Last I heard, they were thinking about merch and other ways to continue to engage with their community. I actually have their trailer.
Listen here, I got a little job for you, if you think you can handle it.
It's pinging off all over Dogtown and we need proper backup.
The elite mega technocrats have kidnapped DJ Mixtape.
And it's on you to extract him. Get him out pronto.
Let's bounce. I see.
So as you can see, it's a super fun adventure, and it's made fully in UEFN. So you can play that today too. Okay, so those were some solo games. Now I want to transition a little bit into kind of multiplayer. I want to talk about the FODE team over at Future Trash. They did tons of work to migrate their brilliant idea from UE into UEFN. They have tons of games with one studio vision that includes their cute cartoon-style bomb that's embedded in each of their games. But they do a much better job talking about it than I do, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I hope. There we go.
Everything from visual effects, material creation, animation, we're doing this all within UEFN. And it's actually been quite a liberating workflow because we're able to do updates so rapidly.
Future Trash is a multidisciplinary creative studio focused on creating immersive experiences via video games. At first, we were building in Unreal 5, and we were set out to build a competitive party game. We actually launched a pre-alpha on Steam. We reached a total of 3,000 installs, which we were proud of, but that's hardly enough to build a business around. In parallel, GDC happened, and Epic announced Creative 2.0, UEFN.
The creative director, Scott Ullman, and I spent a weekend kind of doing an impromptu game jam. We realized we could bring over all our assets from our Unreal 5 project with ease.
We had out-of-the-box great lighting, seamless character animation and running and hurdling, and all those mechanics with our assets was cool to see. It just felt like we had skipped 6 months in a traditional pipeline. We ended up creating in that 48-hour span the majority of our first game that we ended up launching a couple weeks after.
Once we shipped our first experience in UEFN, we had over 200,000 unique players. We decided to take those learnings and start building more games and reaching bigger and bigger audiences. And as of recently, we've reached in total 12 million unique players.
Using custom assets for us is just so important as it's an extension of our brand.
The goal for FODE is to architect a next-gen gaming IP through this UGC ecosystem in UEFN.
We want players to feel like they're experiencing one dynamic, crazy universe that's a pocket of the metaverse. We think that's really important to our mission and to the FODE brand. FODE stands for Fully Operational Annihilation Devices. These are very lovable, yet highly explosive characters.
They're a little dumb, they're incredibly happy, but they can't do much. They can run around, they can blow up.
And they're all procedurally generated. We've created these within a system using Unreal 5 to kind of make each one very unique to itself.
And then we are bringing those in and exporting them directly from Unreal 5 into UEFN without any sort of third-party middleman.
Yeah.
Versus let us do all kinds of amazing things within the engine. For our Tycoon, we were able to implement an entire firing range and dance party and the entire building structure. All of the back end, the way the economy is calculated, everything is verse through and through. It's really helped keep our overhead low and put more of our overhead that we have in terms of memory budgets and asset budgets into building these elaborate custom worlds. It has been honestly shocking how impressive the tools are for creating cinematics within Unreal and within UEFN specifically. Using the cinematic sequencer, you can create things in real time that before would have taken hours and hours and hours to render. We use control rig for every asset, every character, every face that we've created, and we are actually able to keyframe them all within the application itself. It is probably the most powerful tool I've ever used in a creative aspect. Getting into UEFN reminds me of why I got into game development in the first place. It puts all the focus on creating experiences.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk briefly about their map, Boom Tycoon, which happens to be my favorite of the things they've launched. So it's a super fun tycoon that you saw some of earlier, but you hire and assemble and harvest different FODEs to build your warehouse. It's actually a two-player-ish game where you can kind of compete against the other player that you matchmake with to see who can do things faster. There's also different little mini games that you can do to race a car over to their world or, blow them up. It's got lots of different attributes that you can use to level up, and players are encouraged to find the fastest way to be the first to complete their warehouse. And then after they made this game, they continued to integrate that FODE into all of their titles, which I think is such a unique way to take their IP and go beyond just one experience, but continue to build a real world that is an interconnected way that you can go to their maps and know, hey, I'm playing a FODE game. It's super fun. All right, so speaking of other multiplayer games, Go Goated is one of our most played games in the ecosystem. It's an engaging multiplayer 4v4v4v4 zone wars game. Now, the cool thing about it is that they took the idea of the storm from our Battle Royale map and put it into their traditional zone war style game. So as the game continues, the zone shrinks and shifts. The players, as I said, they grew up in groups of 4, and you can really go in and refine your combat skills. This is what I consider to be one of our best practice maps. It's a great way to learn how Battle Royale works without having to be in the huge 100 environment. The cool thing, though, is that he's built a whole brand, logo, and website around this experience to really help promote his game and continue to have great conversations with his players. In fact, he has updated this map over 1,000 times, often taking feedback from his community and integrating it in. In fact, just last week, I saw him tweet that he was asking if he should add one of our new weapons from the newest chapter into his map, and whether or not people thought that that would break the balance. He really takes a moment to consider what his community thinks about the game and integrates their thoughts as quickly as he can. So another game of a totally different genre is Fortnite Funland. This was actually made by our creative team, 3D Lab, in partnership with the influencer Nick A30. He really wanted a fun role-play map for him and his other streamers to come to and hang out, and they really went above and beyond and made a full theme park in UEFN. They added in voiceovers and music and visual effects, plus ride sounds to make it feel really immersed. There are 2 different roller coasters that you can get on, and if you get on with a bunch of friends and you're in the very back, you can actually see all of your friends in the seats in front of you and have a conversation about how fun the ride is. It's super cool, and the custom animations and attractions that are in this experience are really unlike many other things that you can see in Fortnite. It's also a general role-play game with mini games throughout. So if you actually want to go and do a quick box fight, they have an area for that in this map, just allowing for more continuous gameplay and allowing people to really show up in this environment how you might want to actually go to a theme park. It's super fun. All right, the last map that I want to talk about is the Dead Pines map by the team at GameFam. It's a really fun mashup of player versus environment, zombie survival, and roleplay game elements in one experience. They make custom POIs for each area, and you have to go forth and defend each one to win it over through some really challenging PvE combat. Really challenging if you're one player trying to playtest the game before this talk, maybe less challenging if you actually did it with a team of 4. It's a super solid economy loop, though, so I felt really good after I beat the first few hordes that I was able to go back, level up, and have better weapons so that I didn't die as often going forward. It made me really engaged, and I think it's just such a fun way to tell a story through combat, honestly. Okay, so those are some really cool games that have happened over the course of just the last year as UEFN has really come out and become a platform. Hopefully that got you excited and you have some ideas about games that you might want to create. But let's talk a little bit about where Epic is headed tomorrow. There are tons of sessions that have happened here at GDC all about the roadmap, so please go check all of those out online after the fact. But a few things that I really like that I'm excited about. The first is the scene graph. If you didn't go to the earlier verse talks, please check them out online. But this is really going to unlock things like prefabs and eventually unlock the ability to create custom devices in a new way. We're also working really hard on general physics updates to allow you to actually have physics in your games that isn't just the Fortnite bouncy feel. We're working on custom items so that you don't have to use the Fortnite apple as a key to a door, but you can instead design your own key. We're working on Discover features so that you can actually follow a creator and have a similar experience to what you might experience on YouTube or other platforms where you're following and engaging with a creator or a game developer. We're also working on custom quests. Right now, when you play any UEFN or creator-made experience in the Fortnite ecosystem, you can unlock XP that helps you level up your overall Fortnite Battle Pass, but we want to expand that even more and really allow you to make quests and have your storyline really be enabled through that mechanism. So we're working really hard on that. And a lot more. Please check out our roadmap. We just updated it yesterday at create.fortnite.com/roadmap. That will give you all of the details, all the other cool things coming with Verse, and everything around Discover and so much more. So what are you going to create? I hope that this is helpful and that you can all go and download Fortnite and UEFN on your PC to drop in today. You can do that at the Epic Games Store. But thank you so much for your attention, and I have plenty of time for questions, so I'd love to hear them. 4 questions, please come to the mic. Thank you. Or not. Ah, yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So I'm a huge fan of Fortnite and the Unreal Engine ecosystem. We started building on Unreal Engine. Now we are transitioning to Fortnite. I was wondering if you could drill down a little bit more onto the revenue split scheme that you guys have in place. Because, again, huge fan, but having Tim Sweeney in Australia sort of arguing that 30% cut from Apple is too much, and seeing that you guys take 60%, if I'm not mistaken, sounds a little bit contradictory.
Yeah. I can't really speak too much in depth on how that all works and what we're thinking about in the future. You can go read the blogs about what that split is right now. I do know that it's not just we're not taking that much because we want to. We have to maintain the servers and the infrastructure to make sure that the games continue to live. Yep.
All right, hey, how you doing?
Good.
My name is Lex, Creator Code launch session. Really great talk. Really great overview of the ecosystem. Tell me from your experience, what have you found works for indie creators in the ecosystem, I guess, a year ago, and what's working now, and what has changed, and what trends do you see?
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, we didn't really have UEFN yet. So the things that worked were really just using prefabs and doing a lot of kit bashing and trying your best to do what you could with the devices. It was a really limited space. I think now what we're seeing is a transition into more complex game styles, more narrative-driven games, and also still we're still true to that core combat as well, right? Like Battle Royale is a big title on the platform, so there are still a lot of games that are focused on that. But I think with the introduction of Big Bang back in December, where we brought in Festival and Lego, we're really hoping that that also opens the doors for our creators to continue to make a diverse set of content that will get more plays because those players are here on the platform now.
So with brands like Lego kind of entering the space and allowing us to use their IPs and experiences and following their rules and guidelines, one of those rules that Lego states is not using third-party IPs in their experiences. If I'm someone like the Fode guys, do I have to worry about making a Fode map in the Lego experience because that's an IP that we built up, but now it's in the Lego experience? I know it's probably meant more for Coca-Cola not entering the map or space or whatever like that, but as me building my own IP, it kind of the phrasing seems like. Yeah, I didn't even touch it, man. I don't know.
I think I understood. Right now, I actually don't know the answer to your question. I've asked the team. I would love to chat after and see if we can find the right answer for you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, I work at Skybound. We just launched the Invincible Universe Dock-Seismic Attack game at GDA Combat Room. I'm curious for when you're talking about how meaningful updates are to things like Go Goated, what do you think the most meaningful kind of updates are to more linear, narrative-focused experiences? And is there something in your eyes that you can do to keep things fresh and keep things new and sort of top of mind there?
Yeah, I mean, something that the Dead Pines team did is they actually went and did a brand integration where they brought in some points of interest from a brand that reached out to them, and that created a secondary storyline for people to come do, and that was a limited time mode, essentially. So I think that there are options to do that or continue to expand the content, especially now that verse persistence exists and you can save state. I think there is a lot of opportunity to, release chapters and continue to grow the story.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, thanks for the talk. One of the things I've noticed sort of over time is that there's not really been a whole lot of change when it comes to what are the most engaged or what are the top played maps, right? It's predominantly just epic maps, and then it's the same sort of creator-made maps, like featuring like for the next 10 or so. As someone who's like entering the space and trying to create experiences to get an audience, what work is being done to help promote more diversity of experiences and ensure that it's not just players being funneled into that top group, but they're actually finding and playing experiences that have smaller player bases or are struggling with that discoverability?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different things that we're working on. There was a great talk yesterday where the Discover team answered like 40 minutes of Q&A, so I'll make sure you get a link to that. But really what we're working on is that follow a creator, so that if you're making a game type that people really like and that's what you continue to release, that they can come back and get that type over and over again. Also, we're working on what we call personalized discover, which is an opt-in from the player perspective, but then they can really start to see what, like the kinds of games that they like. So like I like racing and role play, and I want to see that. I don't want to see the combat games. So hopefully over time we'll get to do that. I think that's on the roadmap, but it's still a little ways out. And then past that, I think it's really that you giving us that feedback of, hey, I'm making this genre and it's not coming through, and we can continue to work on that. I know when Wirt actually released his map, there wasn't a lot of one-player maps, and so there wasn't a space for it, and so for a little while we were able to work with the Discover team to create a space for single-player experiences. And I think it's something that we're always thinking about and trying out and adapting different ways that we can best suit the diverse genres, because that's really our mission. We just we don't always get it right.
Awesome, thank you.
Hello. Sorry. Thank you for the insightful speech. I have a question regarding the maybe fundamentals or principles to increase the discoverability and visibility for the new creators' islands on the platform. Not to go into the black hole of like Roblox experience, for example. So what guys do you do about it, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, so in addition to everything that I just talked about, we also have Epic Picks, which is a hand-curated row that you can submit your map to, and that gives it some initial discovery boost of around a week. And so that's really another way that if you're trying something new, you can submit it there, and it can potentially be featured. Otherwise, it's a matter of outside marketing and continuing to work on just making the best game you can. I don't have a great answer. Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions, I will stick around. But thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciated it, and I hope you have a great rest of your GDC.